The situation in Iran and for Iran is getting worse. As we are learning now, we are probably only hours away from a direct involvement of the United States in the, people call it conflict, but it is clearly utterly a war. It's a war between Israel and Iran. It's also, I mean, clearly a it had the hallmarks of a proxy war between the US and Iran, but it seems that we are really on the way to direct US military intervention. Donald Trump just left the G7 summit one day early in order to head back to Washington into the Situation Room with advisors, and it was in the beginning unclear what exactly triggered this, but by now we know it has all and everything to do with Iran, of course, and it gets even worse. Trump officially said that the time is up, and he's not only warning anymore, he's now outright threatening Iran. Let me see if I can find it. The White House actually on its Twitter feed reposted a Truth Social post that Trump gave, and it reads as follows. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Do you realize? I mean, this is the United States president giving an order to the capital of Iran, a 10 million people city, to evacuate the city. This is as horrible as it gets. And by the way, this tweet is already a breach of international law, a very grave one, because the threat of use of force is prohibited by the UN Charter already, not just the use of force. I mean, what is he indicating here? Carpet bombing of Tehran? Mass killing of people in Tehran. What is this? What is this supposed to be? So, and now this combined with him leaving back to the US and leaving this G7 summit. I mean, you couldn't say much more obviously that you are about to enter the war, but then again you can. And I just want to point out one thing. This is from the New York Times. The New York Times still finds a way to frame this as if though the Trump administration was desperately seeking for a way out. Trump leaves G7 summit early after signing call for Mid-East de-escalation. So apparently there was a G7 a declaration, and the declaration included a call for de-escalation. And the New York Times, in its live updates, gives us this piece of information, right? So he's leaving, but he calls for peace, right? He's the president of peace. He wants peace. Now, all of the things that are going on, not just the fact that Iran and Israel are still striking each other continuously, and that Israel is not able to cripple Iran to the point where they could not strike them anymore. And on the contrary, the strikes by Iran are getting more effective in Israel. They are firing less rockets now, less missiles, and they do more damage, to the point where, if I can find it, where the Iranians are now, the Israelis are banning foreign correspondents from broadcasting from Israel's Haifa city. Police gave the order, says RT, after film crews recorded direct Iranian attack strikes on the city's oil refinery and power plant. So the Israelis don't want anymore that journalists actually film the destruction, including the attacks on Haifa's power plant, which apparently causes major problems to the energy grid in Haifa. So it seems that the destruction that is being wreaked on Israel is something that Israel does not want broadcasted. Now, this in combination with the fact that we have what some journalists are calling unprecedented mass deployment of warplanes across the Atlantic, leads many people to the conclusion that the US is in the final stages of preparations for war. So what is happening here? In this article on Common Dreams, it is reported that there are a lot of refueling planes are on the route to Europe from the US, and this is a mass movement of military airplanes going east. Let's read a little bit of this article. Flight tracking websites showed dozens of Air Force aerial refueling planes departing from military bases in the United States and heading to Europe on Sunday, fueling speculations of direct US involvement in the widening Israel-Iranian war. Military-focused news sites reported that around 30 US Air Force's KC-135R and KC-46A tankers were identified by flight tracking software in what the Times of Israel called an unprecedented mass deployment. So the U.S. military assets are on the move, and at this point, really, you don't need to be a conspiracy theorist to actually fear that all of this is done in order to prepare for the big blow, for an all-out U.S. military intervention against Iran. And, as Mr. Trump now warned, probably carpet bombing of Tehran, right? I mean, either there's only one of two things that this tweet can do. Either Mr. Trump is trying to prepare the ground in order to tell everybody, look, I told them to get out, and anyone who died died at the hands of the Mullah regime because they didn't evacuate soon enough, right? In order to wash his hands in innocence in the future, once tens or hundreds of thousands of people will have died in mass carpet bombing of Tehran, or this is still part of a sick way of doing diplomacy, of threatening everybody, and of course causing mass panic in Tehran. I've tried to find out if in Tehran people are actually fleeing. I mean, we're seeing on Twitter pictures of long convoys of cars trying to leave the city in the dead of night at 3 and 4 a.m. in Tehran. I don't know if these pictures are reliable. I tried to look at what the Tehran Times is reporting, but the Tehran Times is down. The Tehran Times can currently not be reached. Whether that is because of the bombings in Iran, or whether that is because of cyber attacks against this and other news outlets, we don't know. But currently, it is getting more difficult to find out what's actually happening. Also, Israel is now trying to shut down the news reporting capabilities of Iran. There was a large attack against the national TV broadcaster in Tehran, and actually my colleague and interviewee from 2 days ago, Saeed Marandi, was there. He was in the TV station recording a video with Piers Morgan when Israel attacked. Let me read to you the tweet. And Mr. Marandi, if you don't know, that's this gentleman here who was talking to me 2 days ago on Sunday and explaining the situation from inside Tehran. Our video was the video itself was completely laggy because of the internet, the situation of the internet in Iran at the moment. According to Mr. Marandi, it's because the Iranians themselves are slowing down the internet for security reasons. It could just as well be that the internet just doesn't function anymore very well, and that it is because of the attacks on the infrastructure of Iran. And Mr. Marandi doesn't want to say so, or actually we don't know. We might just not know what the reason is. But anyhow, the point is, he went to the yesterday he then went and recorded a video with Piers Morgan in the press studio. And let me read you this. I was at Press TV preparing for an interview with Piers Morgan, a notorious and dishonest genocide enabler, when Zionists bombed Iranian state media, killing journalists. Smoke was visible at the as they evacuated the Press TV building, but I refused to leave because of the interview. I stayed alone to defend the Iranian people, but Morgan ranted nonsense against Iran, effectively justifying murderous aggression. The supporter of child killers and journalists, murderers, wouldn't even let me speak. And, he was in that building where 3 people died. And there is, under international law, it's of course it's forbidden to target journalists, and it's forbidden to target civilians, and it is forbidden to target journalistic infrastructure. Targeting the news broadcaster of a country. You do that only for one reason, because it's already a war crime. You do it because you want to cripple the ability of your adversary from broadcasting their news and what they're trying to do. This is exactly what NATO did in 1999 in Serbia. They bombed the news broadcaster, also killing people in there, and they defended it as necessary in order to prevent propaganda from being sent to the people that they tried to propagandize, right? NATO. To Serbs. So this is an all-out attempt now at taking also out Iran's possibility of mass broadcasting and telecom infrastructure. This is, to me, quite an obviously an attempt now to prepare the ground. Although this itself could still be done within the rationale of Israel, Iran. Back and forth, right? But the fear really now is that the US is really just hours away from entering. Let me also read you a couple of updates from the New York Times. This one that says that President Trump said the reason for his abrupt departure was much bigger than trying to strike a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. President Emmanuel Macron of France had earlier suggested Trump had left to personally intermediate a ceasefire. Wrong, Trump said on social media. He has no idea why I am now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with a ceasefire. Iran has launched another wave of missiles, says another post at Israel. The Israeli military said Tuesday morning, calling on the public to go to shelters until further notice. So Trump himself is saying that he is his departure from G7 has nothing to do with trying to broker a ceasefire. So what else could it be? What else could it be? And I want to point out one thing, and I want to point it out now. It's 4 p.m. On June 17th in Japan time. And here already for a couple of hours, we have a post from Ray McGovern, and I just want to point this out in case this prediction comes true. Ray McGovern, former CIA intelligence specialist who worked for several administrations and briefed the president with briefings. Ray McGovern is saying that, flash alert, capped USS Nimitz expected to be attacked as you near Middle East. Not by Iran, but by Israel with fails flag attack, blaming Iran. Honor your oath to the Constitution. Do not cover it up as the US Navy did when Israel attacked the USS Liberty. So Ray McGovern is predicting a false flag attack on a U.S. aircraft carrier. He's predicting the false flag attack on the USS Nimitz in order to give the United States the fig leaf for intervention, for direct intervention, because they then can claim that they were attacked by Iran, and Iran crossed the red line and sailors died, right? U.S. Marines will die. I need to tell you also that I think this assessment by Ray McGovern is not unlikely at all, because under the US Constitution, the power to make war on another state, to declare war or take acts of war, actually resides with Congress. It doesn't reside with the president. But if attacked, then the U.S. president is, of course, the chief of the armed forces and has full authority to order the defense of the United States assets, military personnel, and so on and so forth. A false flag attack at a U.S. aircraft carrier is absolutely within the realm of the thinkable, and it wouldn't be the first time. Not only the USS Liberty is here, we have had tons and tons of false flags. We've had the Gulf of Tonkin. These tactics of claiming to be attacked in order to justify counterattacks and then full-blown an all-out war is nothing new and wouldn't be anything new. So I highlight this prediction by Ray McGovern. It might not happen. Actually, Donald Trump is the kind of person who might just declare that now the United States will enter the self-defense of Israel. Of course, he will not declare war. He might spin it in any other way as long as he can do it. But this, to me, is not out of the question, not at all. Um, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, the West is still spinning this as much as they can, although we see how much even big media outlets, which are notorious for their propaganda, like the New York Times and CNN, BBC, and so on, how they are actually kind of forced to admit that, well, this was an attack by Israel first on Iran, and how this is actually, a also a breach of international law. I mean, they actually say so, but at the same time, we still see the narrative spin, especially subliminal, the way that they try to influence you with words. Here from DW, the German propaganda international broadcaster, just read this title here: Israeli death toll climbs as Iran escalation continues. This is typical. You find this all over the place right now. These media outlets talk about Israeli strikes but Iranian attacks. How they focus again on the suffering and the people in the shelter in Israel, and how horrible it is to get up 3 times per night. And again here, how the death toll climbs. Forgetting to mention usually that by now Israel still killed 10 times more Iranians than the other way around, right? Israel, at least by now, we are. These figures are probably from Monday, 16th of June. Israel has had a death toll of 14 people, while in Iran, 224 people were killed by Israeli bombardment. 90% of these casualties were civilians. And 1,277 people hospitalized, right? So don't be gaslit. I mean, the Israelis, of course, have also the audacity even to go on TV and claim that they are operating with precision strikes, and they're so proud that they're able to assassinate Iranian scientists in their sleep, in their bedrooms, by firing. Not missiles, but drones, by firing drones straight into the bedrooms of these scientists, right? They're very proud. They cite that as a proof that they are surgical and precise. And the difference to Iran is that Iran tries to bomb civilians indiscriminately. While then again, like the death toll speaks a very, very clear language. Israel has so far killed way more civilians, 10 times more than 10 times more than the Iranians. And this is just part and parcel of the gaslighting, of making of make believe, and of course again of this victimhood narrative of Israel, that it is at the same time the victim and the fierce defender of everything that's good and right. This is going on. It's at the same time, the other gaslighting, for instance, is this one here that we constantly hear. Even in this tweet, even in this threat to the Iranian capital, Donald Trump said Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Well, newsflash: Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. This was pointed out and also again underlined by Trita Parsi of the Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Here, let me read you this tweet. Trita Parsi: I told CNN that there was no need for pressure to get the Iranians to negotiate. The Iranians were at the negotiating table. Talks were scheduled for Saturday. So the entire narrative that that the United States has no other choice but to threaten Iran to come back to the negotiating table is ridiculous, because they were negotiating, and claiming that Iran is about to have a nuclear weapon tomorrow is ridiculous. They don't have it. There's a fatwa against nuclear weapons in Iran by the Ayatollah, by Ayatollah Khamenei. It is still not legal for Iran, under Iran's law, under Iran's supreme doctrine, even religious doctrine, to possess nuclear weapons. So this is I mean, I don't know. Under this doctrine, you can attack any country without nuclear weapons by claiming that it is seeking nuclear weapons, even when it says at the top of its lungs that it not doesn't do so. This is even more ridiculous than the weapons of mass destruction narrative under in 2003 in order to justify the attack on Saddam Hussein. There, at least, there was some shadow of doubt on whether they actually had these weapons or not. But this time, even the national security chief, not national security chief, excuse me, the chief of the spy agencies of the United States, Tulsi Gabbard, who has 17 or 18 agencies under her, said 2 months ago in a congressional hearing that there is no indication that Iran has nuclear weapons or is seeking to have a nuclear weapons program. That's the point, and we can reiterate this, and we can say it again and again. Unfortunately, it doesn't change the course of history, apparently, because it seems that Donald Trump causing a mass panic in maybe a mass panic in Tehran, and actually like these kind of direct threats and going to the situation room and doing everything to prepare for starting full U.S. engagement in the war. It leaves me with very little hope. At the same time, what else? What else do I need to add? One thing. I need to add one thing to your all of your attention, please, and let never ever anyone tell you that Iran is a mortal threat to the Jews. That is a lie. And please read this news update. Iranian Jewish leaders urge daily missile salvos against Israel. There is a community of around 9,000 Jews living in Iran, and they are not being persecuted. They are not being slaughtered. They are not being driven out of their homes. They live as proud Iranians in Iran. So this is what the Jewish congregation actually says, that the Zionist brutality, which is far from any human morality and has caused the martyrdom of a number of our beloved compatriots, including innocent children, has hurt all of our hearts. Iran's two principal Jewish institutions have issued unusually strident statements condemning last week's Israeli air raids on Tehran, Natanz, and other sites, describing the operations as savage Zionist aggression and demanding that the Islamic Republic reply with overwhelming force. Let nobody tell you that all Jews are on the side of Israel and that this is an issue of Jews against Muslims or Jews against the mullahs. It is not. There are even inside Iran very important Jewish voices that are completely and fully and wholeheartedly reject the Zionist war of aggression against Iran. Please, if somebody gives you this, oh, it's all about it's all because Iran hates the Jews, please give them this statement, okay? We must not forget about this. And Mr. Mohammad Marandi, on my video from 2 days ago, he said so. There is no intention by Iran to kill the people who are living in Israel. There's no intention to do so. What Iran wants is a peaceful Middle East, and it wants the living together of these people who are in the territory of under the control of Israel today. That includes the Palestinians, that includes the Israelis, that includes the Jews, that includes Christians, that includes Druze. It includes the people who live on this land at the moment. As of now, there is no intention by Iran to eradicate Israel and to create a second Holocaust. The only ones who are currently working on a genocide is the Zionist Israelis, who are slaughtering still to this day, every single day, they're slaughtering the Palestinians of Gaza. 20, 30, 40 people a day shot on site at the food distribution centers. We must reiterate this. I mean, it's an insane moment. And just in case, like people in the future don't believe this, just look at this Gaza food distribution. I mean, it's all here. 14 hours ago, at least 37 Palestinians killed in Gaza food site shooting. Local authorities say. I mean, these food sites. This is a daily thing. these food distribution centers that the Israelis opened up um, and pretend are humanitarian for the humanitarian relief of Gaza are now slaughterhouses, and this is a death. These are death camps. I mean, the whole of Gaza is one large death camp. A Palestinian scholar in Jerusalem wrote this morning on his blog that by now the population of Gaza has fallen from 2.2 million to 1.85 million. I cannot verify these numbers, but we know that at least 70 to 80,000 people were directly killed by all the bombs and projectiles dropped on Gaza. And a year ago, in a summer, in early summer, in June 2024, the Lancet magazine, one of the largest and most prestigious medical journals, academic medical journals, estimated that the death toll is already way above 100,000 back in a year ago, and was more like around 180,000 if we take into consideration all the people who died of preventable disease and cancer and other things in indirect causes of the war. So, and now we are a year beyond that. The estimation that we are now around 300,000 people who died, or even above that, is not far-fetched. This is the reality that we are seeing at the moment, and this is simultaneously going on. The Israelis are still slaughtering people in Gaza, even while they should be highly worried because their their air defense system is not working. I mean, the only reason why you would forbid journalists from then actually reporting on damages done. And we see that actually on Twitter as well. We see a lot of people, Israelis, getting mad when journalists report on damage done in Tel Aviv and so on, and when they interpret that as a sign of Israel not doing a good job in its defense, right? The only reason why you want to do that is because you want to control this narrative, right? And you want to create the narrative, the simultaneous narrative that you are a victim, but also that you only need to have this one more death blow towards the enemy, and then the enemy will fall. And all while understanding that Israel is not able to do this alone. This is what we learn now after 5 days on this, Tuesday, and that the assault, Israel's assault on Iran, started on Friday. It started with these decapitation strikes against the military leadership and also scientific leadership, actually, of Iran. And this did not bring Iran down. What a big surprise! The military has more than 2 or 3 leaders. They actually just appoint the next one and then the next one to head the guards and continue with the strategy. Ayatollah Khomeini this night also published a speech in which he says that even if he's killed, the defense of the country will continue. He's actually he spoke quite wholeheartedly about his body not being important to the cause of Iran and of national defense. And by the way, so far none of my Iranian friends, all of whom are highly critical of the regime in Tehran, have said that they hope that the Israeli assault will succeed. The opposite is true. Like even the friends who until now have time and again criticized this religious leadership, and Ayatollah Khamenei and the government, they said that Israel is actually proving the military guard correct, is proving correct that Israel is hell-bent on destroying Iran. And actually the defenders of the Iranians right now is, of course, the Iranian government, right? And it's not even that difficult to understand. If you have one side that throws bombs at you, and another side that tries to prevent that and shoots back, then which side will you support if you are there? So the whole idea that this attack now is leading to mass revolution and the Iranian people rising up against their suppressors, it's the opposite that's happening at the moment. These attacks are causing more even critical Iranians to actually rally behind the one government they currently have, and the forces that are, if at all, able to somehow fend off the attack. We must not underestimate this, right? This also just the sheer psychological fact that the Israelis attacked Iran, right, and unprovokedly so. Iran didn't do anything concretely that would have warranted this, and all of the Iranians are seeing this and are now do now understand that, okay, it's an attack. So what do you do when you're attacked? You might need to even collaborate with those that you don't like, because the greater threat is actually from the outside. It's the threat that kills 200 of your people, that throws bombs on you. And the Iranians all saw what Israel has been doing over the last 2 years in Gaza, and how high the death toll is, and how indiscriminate the bombing is, and how this genocidal rhetoric is also deeply ingrained inside the Israeli society, and that there is no good reason to expect that Israel will not try to do to Iran on a massive scale what they have been doing to Gaza on a small scale in terms of land area. Now, the one thing again is the difference is that this time Iran is actually also inflicting wounds on Israel, and apparently the biggest reason probably why Donald Trump is now threatening a direct involvement of the United States is because that's the only thing that can somehow save Israel. Because they, again, I said this already before, they've backed themselves into a corner. You cannot, you could only get out of this if actually Israel said, okay, fine, we'll stop the bombings if you stop the bombings, and then both sides start standing down. But that's not the goal. The goal stated by Netanyahu is to eradicate the threat, and he said it's two reasons, not just one. He recently added the second reason. First reason, the non-existent nuclear bomb is the first reason, and second reason because they have a missile program, 20,000 missiles, and the missiles that of course currently hit Israel, and both of them need to be eliminated. So they also want obviously to demilitarize Iran. It's not, and if you can be absolutely certain of one thing, is that nobody in Iran would ever agree to give up the missile system. I mean the military defense capabilities of Iran, right? And to all of that, now we add the Trump administration that keeps saying they should have taken the deal, and that the troop deployments that we are seeing that are apparently also real. I mean, this is highly frightening. I want to point out one more thing, and I wonder about this, and I know we shouldn't engage too much into trying to read Donald Trump's mind, what's going through it. This is maybe not intentional at all, but I find it interesting that in this statement on Truth Social, he actually wrote the word deal in brackets. Iran should have signed the deal. The deal. Um, Usually you put words into brackets when you want to emphasize that they are something else than what they are meant to be, right? When you want to emphasize that something is not, real reality, that it is something ominous. I don't know whether this is some form of admission that this deal was never actually meant to be real, or that this is just the United States using a different word for basically a declaration of surrender, right? Because that's what they demand here. That's what the Israelis are demanding. The Israelis are demanding that Iran does an unconditional surrender and then gives up all and anything that Israel deems Iran has to give up, and demilitarize its arsenal and so on. And anything short of that complete surrender is apparently now reason for Israel to demand that the United States enter the war, and it seems that they are preparing for that. Again, the one thing I don't know is, will there be a false flag attack? Will we hear in a few hours from now that Iran has attacked and damaged a U.S. Aircraft carrier or another boat, something swimming somewhere, and preferably something that can be made gone away, right? Something where you can make sure that it sinks, and then you cannot anymore figure out who shot at it, right? Something, Nord Streamish, something that you then can claim that only conspiracy theorists would suppose that this was a failed flag and stuff like that. And so I would suspect something that can sink, that would be hit. On the other hand, again, like Donald Trump might just not care and go ahead anyway. If nobody stops him in Congress, then that's it's going to be the reality. It's just going to be a war. Is just going to be the reality, and then we will live in a in a very new world, because one thing is clear: Russia and China are not going to just stand there and do nothing. I will have talks about this in the near future, also with Russian colleagues, about what they are expecting and what they're hearing from Moscow and so on. It's horrible, and I don't want to say this, but stay tuned. I really don't want to say this. It's it's utter nonsense. It's just I lack the words to express the disgust I feel at the moment at these warmongers who are working on this. Another war, just another war, another Gulf War, another tens, hundreds of thousands of people who might die. It's just disgusting.